I'm Sori.
And this is Arkona.
In my land for the big homie Daniel. Oh, hey guys, there's something actually exciting going on for the month of August. You can send your art to, I wrote it here at the bottom of the screen, this email address. It's not for, you're not sending to us. We're not even going to see this art on this forum. So don't send your request there or anything else besides your art there. And this art is going to be voted on by the patrons. And whoever's wins, there's a shirt. So there's different little things that are involved with that. So so write that down if you think you might have some future art in the month of August, or you already have something you want to send, and send it to the big homie Klaus, and he will he'll get that stuff situated, and we will let you know who the winner is, and the winner will also be on our website too. So exciting stuff.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Shout out to Amy Lee. Get better, girl. I command you to get better.
Jesus.
That's right. Okay, so there are multiple ways to get your song reviewed, dear listener. This is a 15-minute song.
It's not something we usually do, but Daniel's special, so.
Yeah. Oh, this is a DS?
Yeah.
Oh, we had to do it for him. Okay. Yeah. He's an exception. Don't be thinking you're gonna be like this guy. He's an exception. My favorite way is the community option, $1 to get you into the Patreon, where you get to meet the amazing Leah of the village, the mighty pony of the village, who just texted me something. It's probably about Nightwish.
Or mermaids.
The top alliance leader himself, Christopher Culp. They will recruit you. You jump in. You pool your points together. There's so many things that you can get now. It's ridiculous. Sori has really souped up the site. There's also the $5 option, for example. You get to get first listens to the first 40 seconds of our song that we're working on, and when the actual video comes out, you guys will get the pre-release before everybody else. We're literally in a band together with some other villages. I'm telling you, best. Somebody said it was a record label worthy intro. Shout out to Mark, shout out to Shane, shout out to Stargazer, all our new patrons. We appreciate you, Aaron, all the rest of you. Now, if you're a filthy capitalist like Sori and you want to leverage your capital for your own ends and you don't want to work in a crew, that is the $125 option. Gets you straight to the head of the line. You have to make it so selfish sounding.
Maybe they want to bring great music to the village by using their capital.
So if you're selfish and you don't want to work with a team and you're a filthy capitalist like Sori, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. And you do that 3 times, you get pushed down to $75, and you stay that way forever. Sori was yelling at me about that last night, but I don't care because I'm not a filthy capitalist. Let's go. Arkona. In my land. We've got the English translation. We'll probably put the English translation down in the first comment for you guys. Let's go.
And?
I get the lyrics right here. So look. Like straight. See what I'm saying?
шагаю в чужие края, ноги босые стирая, в сердце своем надежду храня, землю свою вспоминаю. Снова бегу в ожидании чуда, я к берегам океана. Новой земле отдам я поклон, чем же земля эта славна?
Okay. I really like this song. Killing it! Tell them, brother minister! I'm about it. I'm about it.
So did you figure out what was going on?
I did. It's like I need to charge for that. The thing's about to die.
Floor, and I'm not bending over to get it.
Okay, we'll just use the
It's
lid.
right there.
We'll just use the lid, sure.
Oh, you don't want to bend. You don't even have a baby in there. You don't want to bend?
I'm not even gonna argue with you. Not even gonna argue with you, Missy.
I feel progressively more and more grouchy in this room because it's so freaking hot.
I figured you out. Yeah, I knew exactly that's
oh no,
what's
look,
happening.
look at this.
Sori is legendary for her inability to suck it up, as they say. She's legendary.
Okay, so tell me what you think it's about.
I think it's like an ode to all those European lands. They have one for Russia, they had one for the Netherlands, they had one for Germany. So like it's an ode to all the lands and their previous gods before stuff changed, it looked like.
So he sent me this link that I read right here. In this song, a man leaves his home in Russia in search of happiness. He travels through Sweden, Lithuania, Latvia, Germany, and the Netherlands in that order, yet in his journey he learns that true happiness is back at home where he belongs. A surprising number of guest vocalists have contributed to this Arkona ballad. We have the ballad. We have the vocalists from, go ahead, you can read from this point.
Heidelvolk, Minhir, Monogarm, Obtest, and Skyforger participating in this song.
So that's
6 vocalists in 6 countries. Does each vocalist in the song represent their home country? In examining this idea, I matched voices to lyric, and for the most part it's true. There are some instances where other members of the band, in addition to the vocalists, are singing, like I think the bassist of Skyforger might be singing the part for Latvia, so this makes matters slightly complicated, but for the most part, I'm sure each of these bands is representing their home country. Masha Scream of Arkona is obviously the Russian traveler. In order, we have Monogarm, Sweden, Obtest, Lithuania, Skyforger, Latvia, Menhir, Germany, and Heidelvolk, Netherlands.
At the end, there is a chorus where different vocalists all sing the la 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 together. They all come from different lands, but they are all happiest in their motherlands. Isn't that cute?
Yeah, notes on the lyrics. So Nerthus is mentioned. She's a Germanic earth goddess. Svivot, I'm completely butchering that, is an Old Norse name for Sweden or its people. Sunna is a Germanic sun goddess. Veles is a major Slavic god. The one-eyed Odin, obviously the chief Norse god. Shout out to the big homie Odin. Zemina, Lithuanian earth goddess. Velinus is a Lithuanian creator god represented as a blacksmith. Isn't Odin and Thor, and aren't there blacksmiths too? He forges his sword and all that.
I would assume so.
The Azulinai mounds, earth mounds in the village of Azulinai, which I'm butchering again, and Thuringia is a German state renowned for its natural beauty. I thought that
was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was an ode to those very. I didn't, because I'm like, it was Russian. I started out Russian. I'm like, okay, I'm getting this. This is good. And then they started mentioning these German gods. I was like, wait a second, it's not a Russian god. It's a German god. I was a bit confused. And then I started figuring it out. It's cool because the lyrics that we have, the lyrics that I had here, it talked about Latvia, Netherlands, but I didn't understand what they were trying to do. But if you see it here, it says Russian traveler, Latvia, Skyforger. I mean, it says it right here in these lyrics, which were pretty cool. Why did the lyrics get small? You did that?
I'll explain it to you later.
But did you do that?
Well, I had to because you made a mistake that made that mistake have to happen.
All right. I don't think it had to happen, but these are the things that you do.
It did.
I loved it. I loved that song. Look, somebody sent me something a couple days ago, and I was looking at it. It was these, white supremacist, blah 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 type of thing, and it was basically stay in your homeland, yada yada yada. Everybody will be happier if they stay in their homeland.
Yeah.
So, and the person had been reacting. I forgot the name of the band. It was like they were talking about like Vikings. It was a really, really cool band that we did like right at the beginning of the thing, and they were like dressed up in the gear and all that. It was good. They had a girl singer, and I was like, it's good for people to remember their past and know where they came from and all that. And the guy was like, well, this is the rhetoric that the Nazis use and da 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 da. And I'm like, look, man, there's nothing. I don't care if Nazis use that rhetoric or white supremacists use that rhetoric, because there's nothing wrong with saying this is my homeland. I mean, Americans talk about it all the time. They say this is God's country. Like you're supposed to have a certain affinity.
Yeah.
For your land and your people and your heritage.
Right.
Right.
It's unnatural to.
Just because a group of people bastardized that pride and love for the homeland and turned it into something ugly doesn't mean that now we throw the baby out with the bathwater and we don't recognize the beauty of where we came from. Or I don't think it's wrong to say that the Russian guy was happiest in Russia. I don't think that that's wrong. Like, I don't think that's evil to say. You know what I mean? Like, so, and the thing is like, as a person in this country, I'm so disconnected. I remember reading Roots you know, Alex Haley's Roots, and the first half of the book was amazing because you're just following Kunta around in Africa, and he's talking about the beauty of Africa. Up to that time, the only image I had of Africa was a Feed the Children commercial.
Right.
You know, the ravaged, you know, like the horrors of, you know, whatever. And
it literally looked like there was nothing there but just like dry
so
grass.
like Roots was the first time I was like, holy shit, like Africa is first of all, Africa's vast. It's huge, and it's like purposely shrunk on people's maps because so that people don't understand the scale of Africa and all the rest of it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things going on. But Roots made me fall in love with Africa and miss Africa, and you know, it put Africa on my bucket list as like a place where, you know, I have to visit before, you know, I die or whatever.
Have you ever been?
So, I mean, you know, it's so when I see Europeans, I feel like do a lot better job at, and you know, there's a whole modernism and multiculturalism and things like that, and I think, you know, people react to that, you know, there's a scale of reactionaries to it, and I think there's a group of, you know, you have these supremacists that are like, oh, these people are, you know, trash, da 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 da. Then you have these other people like, yeah, come on in, yeah, and like, and let's completely change all of our customs and everything. And like, you have some people that are like in the middle going, well, I want to help out people who are refugees, but I don't want to just completely get rid of our culture and everything that we knew.
Yeah.
And I'm a believer, this is going to be very controversial, if you go into somebody else's land as a guest or whatever, or as a refugee, you should conform to their stuff. You should learn their history, and you should not try to change the overarching culture that you're coming into.
Yeah.
You should learn the language. You should know who these folks are, know who the history is, learn their religion. I'm not saying adopt their religion, but you should learn it and you should respect it because you're a guest in their place. I don't believe that you get to go into somebody else's culture as a minority and then you go in there and completely wipe the slate clean and create this other different thing and make these people forget all of their, like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I think it's horrible, by the way. I think that's terrible. From a biblical perspective, you know, like, there's a couple things, right? There's one where Paul talks about he has unceasing anguish for his kinsmen according to the flesh, which is he's speaking about, you know, Israel, and then he goes off and you know, theirs is the prophets, theirs is this, theirs is that, and he talks about, you know, Israel. And then if you look at, you know, the Psalms, when it talks about Zion, it talks about the beauty of Zion, and the Lord loves Zion, and yada yada yada. There is clear love, nationalism, you know, patriot, whatever you want to call it. So biblically speaking, I think it's a beautiful thing when people love their homeland, and I think it's we have to be very nuanced in our thought process and think through things carefully, so that there is room for welcoming outsiders, so that you don't end up with, you know, holocausts and things like that. While simultaneously having the understanding that if you are going into other people's land, it is incumbent upon you to learn their stuff and join into their things. It doesn't mean that you can't bring your cooking and your things, and it doesn't mean that the culture is not going to look vastly different in 100 years if you guys stay there. But you cannot go into other people's. Like, imagine if you had somebody come to your house and they changed all the house rules.
Well, no, I hear what you're saying. I think it's weird that, like, in my mind, when I think, okay, when people come here, they should conform to American culture, it feels like really, really, really bad to say that or think that. But when I think about going somewhere else, I mean, even as small as I went for a couple months to Latvia, I wasn't expecting them to conform to my ways. I went there with the expectation that I was going to learn their language and I was going to do things their way.
Well, so, here's the thing. There's this one, I'm not going to mention her because...
And it's in my mind outrageous that would be an outrageous thought for me to think that I would go over there and expect all those people to conform to me.
Right.
But yet, I don't know why it feels so wrong or so bad that to say that, like when people come
Well,
here.
yeah.
And I don't know if it's because Americans can be very, like sometimes, the people are trying to come into this country for help, and we're like, well, lockman cages, like all the different things that go along with it. And I understand that there's complexities to that situation, but the overall attitude toward the foreigner, maybe that's why it makes me feel more uncomfortable with them saying,
Well, I just think there's been a lot of propaganda around this issue.
I shouldn't have to press 1. This is America.
Right. I think there's a lot of propaganda. Like
I actually agree with that.
Here's what I mean by propaganda. Here's what I mean by propaganda. And I'm not going to name the person because I don't want this to turn political, because I don't want us to miss the beauty of the song and the message of the song. There's a particular left-wing person who comes out, talks all the time about how we have no national identity, we need to conform to these other people, And then she went to an Arab country, she immediately dons a hijab. And she didn't don a hijab, she didn't wear a hijab because she felt threatened, because she was in a relatively peaceful Arab country where, there were other hijabless people there. Mm-hmm. But she said it because she said she wanted to respect the customs of the people there. And it's like, did you not see the country? Yeah. So, and then, we got this one guy, and thank you for sending me your email, Steven, because I'm going to shoot you a video pretty soon. Probably tonight. So check your email, because probably tonight. Where his thing is, when things like racism and things like that will never be solved because we do not belong mixing together. So that's his idea. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the line where you go, whoa, like you just went off the reservation. Saying that the Russian guy is happiest in Russia is not the same thing as saying the Russian guy and the Latvian guy should never interact with each other because the Russian guy belongs in Russia, and there's never going to be a solution to, racism or classism there. Because Stephen, there's more than one ism. There's also classism. So does that mean that people shouldn't mix classes either? Because classes can't. I mean, if you've read any Marx, you see that class warfare has been a thing for millennia, probably since the inception of human history. If you go with Marx. I probably agree with Marx, but I probably disagree with Marx about why there is class struggle. So and there's been struggles between men and women, and the battle of the sexes is famous. Should we not? This Stephen in particular is probably very homophobic.
Ageism too. We're gonna have to separate families now.
Stephen's probably very homophobic too. So it's like, should we not have men and women interacting together too because there's been a battle of the sexes for millennia? That's ridiculous. No. It is good to say. The Russians have a history, they've got a culture, they've got things that mark them, and the guy that was born and raised in Russia, when he goes to travel to seek happiness, he's gonna have that kind of emptiness in his soul until he gets back to Russia, and you kind of have to do that traveling to understand that that's the case. Mm-hmm. And you can still recognize that there's beauty in the Netherlands and beauty in Germany and things like that. Like, we're watching a show right now, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know Germany was that beautiful. When I was in Germany, there wasn't a lot of beauty. It's stuff like that where it's like, I think that that's great, but I think that I just feel like in the modern world, it's like you said, it's like you feel kind of weird saying that people should conform to American, whatever. And, I don't, man. You come to America, the dominant language is English. You need to learn English. And here's the thing. If they don't learn English, they're going to be at a disadvantage. They're never going to rise economically to any sort of ability to compete in America if you don't understand English. So
sadly, you'll be put in a situation where you can get taken advantage of also.
Well, some of this multiculturalism stuff actually ends up destroying the people it's meant to advocate for. Mm-hmm. Because if you do the whole bilingual thing, that's great. But I'm gonna tell you something. I've been in the corporate world. I've closed deals in the corporate world. You better have you got to have a mastery of an English language. I've been in those meetings, and these people think that I'm, if they understood the level of my education, they'd be like, this guy doesn't belong in this room. Mm-hmm. But it's because I have a general mastery of the English language that the folks that I report to say, yeah, let Vin do it.
Yep.
So if the person doesn't learn English, I don't have a Jamaican accent. I have, pretty much a neutral accent. Right. And it has served me well, saved my life on a few occasions. You're not getting anywhere. So
Yeah.
like some of this stuff is just crazy to me. But I think anytime I hear a song where people, it's just man, like lyrically it was beautiful.
I really liked the German part, and then when it was the female vocal for Russia, I really liked that part a lot too.
Yeah, so in Sweden, I said Sweden. When it talks about Nerthus, I had these gods and what?
Okay, I need this screen. Please don't touch that.
All right, so Nerthus. Nerthus was a Germanic goddess associated with peace and prosperity. Thomas Apple worshipped in Scandinavian and Germanic territories. Nerthus was an obscure goddess associated with peace and prosperity. So like when they started naming these gods and goddesses and they said one of them taught them how to forge steel or something like that, I thought that was really cool. And you know, and I believe it's true because, you know, we talked about in the other video, it's clear in the Book of Enoch that you had these divine beings come down and you know, explain to man how to do X, Y, and Z. So just just hearing their stories, like I could sit down and listen to like tons of these stories from the European days and things like that, like you know, before, and it's kind of ironic before, you know, Christianity came in and whatever, because I think it gives me it's a cool thing to be able to peer into the window of what life was like for people, you know, and how they evolved as a society and things like that. And I just think there was a way to introduce, because I believe that Christianity is the only truth, but I feel that there's a way to introduce that without completely eradicating and eliminating the other stuff. You know, it's like, you know, because there's a connection to everything, to all of these beings, because I believe that these beings are real to some degree, and putting them in certain contexts, surely you have to leave them behind as far as the gods that you actually worship and pay homage to. However, I also think that, you know, there are ways to balance that out that Christians obviously did not do a very good job at.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's you know, it's one of those things. But I loved it. I loved it, man. Viva Europe! Long live Europe! Yeah, Europa, I think is it. Like, yeah. So, you know, I don't know. I guess I can say these things because I'm black. If I said it and I was, or maybe
literally, I was thinking the same.
If
thing.
I was saying this stuff and I was white, people, you racist bastard, blah blah blah. It's like, you know, look, I talked about, you know, Marcus Garvey. My mom having me meet Marcus Garvey was a Pan-African, and his big thing was Africa for the Africans.
Yeah.
And Garvey was like Stephen. Garvey was saying, we cannot, you know, to some degree, out of Elijah Muhammad, we cannot live with these people in peace. They're disagreeable to live with in peace. We're not meant to live around each other. So let's go get all the white people out of Africa. Get them the hell out of Africa, and we're gonna get the hell out of American, European nations, and then everybody stays where they stay. That's no different from what Stephen is saying, but everybody's like, why are you giving this guy a platform, and he's a Nazi, and he's a scum of the earth, and they're like, what? I think he's dead wrong, and he's slowly converting to Christianity, so I'm certain that in 3 or 4 years, he's not gonna be saying this nonsense. But I understand where he's coming from, and because how could I say that he's crazy, but I grew up reading Marcus Garvey?
Yeah.
I've never heard I've mentioned Marcus Garvey on a multitude of occasions on this forum, Middle America, and nobody has ever said I was racist or that my mother was racist for having me read Marcus Garvey. Not one time. Now, some of that might have to do with the fact that they don't know.
Yeah.
But I said specifically, he was a Pan-Africanist. My mom
Yeah, but
was
I feel like
almost
a lot of people don't even know what that means.
Okay, fair. Well, you know.
Honest to goodness, the word Pan-African doesn't even sound like it's that Pan-African.
Well, the prefix pan means, you know, like all, like pantheism, things like that.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound very threatening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Stephen is a pan-Europeanist to some degree, I guess. But anyway, I just think there's a line. I think there's nuance, and I think that this kind of reminds me of the Aaron Lewis song, only done at a much higher level. So, Shout out to Arkona. I really liked it. I really appreciate people appreciating their roots. It's important, man. It's important in this day and age.
Yeah, whenever we have these conversations, I always feel like sad because I don't know really what my roots are. You know, I've been told that it's Native American mixed with, you know, French, but I don't really know. And so, like, I wish that I knew what I was predominantly, so that way I could study that culture and kind of like be a part of that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I get you. Great song. Shout out to all the nations listed here. And, you know, in the final, you know, in Revelation, it talks about every tribe, tongue, people, and language. And John wouldn't be able to talk about tribe, tongue, people, and language if there were not distinctions. So the New Testament's goal is not to eliminate national identity. So when Paul says there's no Jew, Greek, slave, or free, what he's talking about is the negative aspects of the division is eliminated in Christ. But that does not mean that God does not enjoy looking at the different cultures that we've all created. And from a biblical perspective, that's going to continue on into eternity. Mm-hmm. So, and not even to mention interplanetary stuff. People always ask me, like, do you believe there's life in other planets? And I said I would be extremely surprised and disappointed if that were not the case. And Tucker Carlson agrees with me. So, yeah. So, I mean, this is going to continue. I believe we're going to hear songs like this in 50 trillion years from now. We're going to hear songs like this. And we're going to continue to build culture. Culture building is part of the Dominion mandate when God said, fill the earth and subdue it. That's part of the Dominion mandate. From the foods that we eat to the way we, to the scales that we use musically, that's all part of it. And it's something that just because a bunch of evil, horrible racists have taken an extreme bastardized form of it does not mean that we throw out the baby with the bathwater. If you're from Europe, you need to freaking be proud as hell of being a European. And be proud as hell as where you came from. And I don't care what anybody says. I truly don't care. You should get on TV and say, you know, I've been all over the place and it's great, but there's no place like Sweden. Sweden's the best place in the world. You should say that shit.
Like home.
You should say it.
No place like home.
What did Biggie say in going back to Cali? If I gotta choose a coast, I got to choose the east. I live out there, so don't go there. But that don't mean a nigga can't rest in the west. See some nice breasts in the west. Smoke some nice zest in the west. Y'all niggas is a mess, nigga. I'ma stop giving LA props.
God.
All I got is beef with those that violate me. I shall annihilate thee. See? You got it. He's from New York. He's from New York.
Yep.
You can give props to other places, but your place is your place, man. Long live Sweden. Long live Germany. I'm serious. It's ridiculous. People are dumb. Stop being dumb and oversensitive about shit. People proud of where they come from, man. Just leave it alone. Go read a book and figure out where you come from and be happy. Jumping on people, calling them terrible names because they're proud of where they're from. This song is a 10 just for that. 10! And it was very good music.
It's a 9.2 for me.
I just resent you for so many reasons right now.
I know, and you know what? I'm so friggin' hot, I don't care.
She's not friggin' hot.
Yeah, I am hot.
She's not hot.
But see, Vin doesn't know
She's
what it's
such a
like
baby.
to be pregnant.
Now here we go. We're gonna bring the baby into it. Vin out.
He doesn't know. He thinks he knows.
You've always been soft.
He's done so many things.
You've been
in his
soft.
life,
You've been soft
and
even
he's
before
done
you're
so
pregnant.
many hard things in his life.
You've been soft.
He
before
overcame
you were
all of them. Even
You were
in the
soft before you were
heat.
pregnant. You were soft before you. So our baby's overcoming it now.
There's literally nothing that you can say to me right now.
Does the baby have AC right now? Does Orion have AC? Yes or no?
No.
And yet here he is sleeping, dear listener.
Oh, well, Ryan's pregnant. Our 1-year-old is pregnant. That's the weirdest thing you've ever said.
Vin, I'm trying to leave the video. I'm not trying to argue in front of these people. Vin out.
Sorry, out.
Gone.
убегаю в чужие края, ноги босые стирая, в сердце своем надежду храня, землю свою вспоминаю. Снова бегу в ожидании чуда я к берегам океана. Новой земле отдам я поклон, чем же земля эта славна.